You know how much you pay toward your debt every month. But have you ever stopped to ask what that debt is costing you besides the payment? Because every month that debt is taking something else from you, and it may be more important than you realize. I'll show you what that is and why getting rid of debt can change more than your monthly bills. The easiest way to see this is to separate the payment from what the debt prevents you from doing. Suppose you have a $500 debt payment every month. You probably think of the cost as $500 because that's the amount leaving your checking account. But that same $500 is also money you can't use somewhere else. You can't put it toward an emergency fund. You can't use it to replace a car that's becoming unreliable. You can't put it toward retirement, a vacation, your children's education, a down payment, or something else important to your family. That doesn't mean taking on debt was necessarily a mistake. Sometimes debt helps us buy something we need before we have the cash. The part we often miss is what happens afterward. That payment keeps claiming part of your future income until the debt is gone. And once you look at debt that way, its real cost becomes much easier to see. Debt is a commitment you made with money you hadn't earned yet. You received the benefit earlier, a car, an education, a purchase, maybe help getting through a difficult period, and agreed to use some of your future income to pay for it. That changes what your future paychecks can do. That changes the question you need to ask about debt. If a person begins every month with $1,000 already committed to decisions made in the past, that's the part of debt we don't always measure. We usually ask, can I afford the payment? A better question is, what will this payment prevent me from doing while I'm making it? Because debt doesn't just affect this month's budget. It reduces the number of choices your future income can support. And those lost choices become especially important when life changes. The real cost becomes easier to see when something in your life changes. Then the car needs a major repair. You want to increase your retirement contribution. You need to help a family member. Or maybe you simply want enough room in your budget that one difficult month doesn't create another financial problem. The debt payment doesn't necessarily make those things impossible. It makes them harder to absorb. And that can create an emotional cost too. When so much of your income is already obligated, you can earn a decent income and still have very little control over it. That's where "I can't get ahead" comes from. It isn't always because you aren't earning enough or because you're spending irresponsibly. Sometimes too much of today's income is still paying for yesterday. That's right, debt. And if we want to change that, we need to stop treating debt payoff as simply another bill. And this is where debt payoff starts to look very different, because you're not just eliminating a balance. You're getting part of your income back. Instead of looking at debt only as a balance you need to eliminate, start looking at each debt as income you can eventually reclaim. Write down each debt and its monthly payment. For example, car payment, $475. Credit card, $225. Personal loan, $300. That's $1,000 of monthly income already committed. Now ask, if one of these payments disappeared, what could that money do for me instead? That question changes the goal. Paying off the $300 personal loan doesn't just mean you owe one less company. It means you have reclaimed $300 of your monthly income. Once that happens, don't automatically let that $300 disappear into everyday spending. Give it a new job. You might use it to accelerate another debt, build your emergency savings, increase retirement contributions, or create more wiggle room in your budget. The important part is that you decide. That is what reducing debt ultimately gives back to you, control over money that previously had no choice about where it went. And you don't have to eliminate every debt before you begin experiencing that benefit. Every payment you permanently remove gives some of your future income back. Here's where I would start. Make a simple list of your debts. Next to each one, write the balance and the required monthly payment. Then add up only the minimum monthly payments. Maybe your total is $400. Maybe it's $1,200. Maybe it's considerably more. That number answers an important question. How much of my monthly income could eventually come back under my control? Now choose what you want that reclaimed money to accomplish. Beth might have a $350 monthly car payment. Instead of thinking only, I have $7,000 left on the car, she can also see what waits on the other side of that balance. When the car is paid off, she gets $350 of monthly income back. She can decide now that the first $200 strengthen her emergency savings and the remaining $150 will go toward another financial goal. So when that payment ends, she already knows what happens next. Do this with your own debt. You don't have to solve everything today. Just identify how much of your income is currently committed to debt and decide what you want that money to do when you reclaim it. That turns debt payoff from another bill I have to get rid of into income I'm working to get back. Debt costs more than the dollars you send to a lender. It also costs you choices about what those dollars could be doing for your life. As you eliminate those payments, you reclaim those choices one at a time. But there's another reason that can take much longer than you expect. You can make your debt payment every month and look at the balance wondering why it barely moved. That's what we're going to answer next, and you keep paying. So why is your debt barely going down?